afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Life as I See It with your hostess, Dina Nierenberg. And with me today, we are fortunate to have Maria Lakinova with us again. Thank you so much for coming to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Dina, again. It's a big honor for me. Thank you.
So I've been watching our last show, and I feel like we have a sequel coming on. Mm-hmm. So that's why you're back here today. So I want to keep talking about the whole idea of childhood trauma and how that affects people into every stage that they go through in life.
Absolutely, yes. Because this is our most vulnerable age, where our personality is getting built, and this is where for the first time we experience, right? It's like we're stepping our foot on the ground, and we are trying to learn who we are, what our rights, right? What our mission here, even in that very, very young age. Like, let's say, what is very, very important for all of us, and starting, of course, with a young age, for every child, is important to feel being safe and protected, right? And once we feel safe and protected, this is where all of our personal gifts, I would say, start opening up. We are able to open up our soul. If we don't feel safe, it's like we feel like squished, right? We cannot really flourish and blossom.
That's right.
Right? So that's why it's very important for the child, first of all, to feel safe at home.
Right. First step.
Yes.
First step. Yeah. There was a fellow named Abraham Maslow, and he was one of the humanists, as you know from watching my previous shows. And he has a whole hierarchy of needs of what we need. And on the very, very bottom rungs come our physiological needs, such as our needs for air, food, water, and next up is for safety and shelter. And that means more than just a roof over our heads. It also means emotional safety.
Yes.
To feel like we are psychologically in a safe space. You know, that's where we get to flourish. If we don't have that, it's very, very hard to flourish. You know, you could say that, okay, yeah, I survived, but did I flourish, you know?
Yes, because if we don't feel safe, then we're in a constant state of stress. Mm-hmm. And that's where all of our energy is being drained. We're constantly feeling about, oh, how can I feel safe? How can I stay protected? Mm-hmm. You know, and it's like, it could be a constant cycle. Like, let's say, if there's certain abuse happening in a household, mm-hmm. right? Whether it's physical or emotional or mental, it's still an abuse. You still feel it within your soul, and it affects your body too. If you don't feel safe in the mental space, then, like, it's personally for me, I feel like my body is not, like, I don't even feel courageous enough to stand straight. You know what I mean? It's like I always feel like
tight.
Yes, very, very tight. Yeah. And in a position like ready to defend myself. Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, hi, Lily.
Hi, I'm back.
Nice to see you on the show. How are you doing today?
Yeah, I will do the show. I will sing with the microphone.
Come, sit with me.
I'm just talking to the microphone.
Yes, but look, we're talking with the demon. Yeah. Okay? We're on a show, so here. The microphone is far away from us. When you stand too close, your voice gets too loud and the microphone cannot hear us.
This is true.
Okay?
Yeah.
So stay next to me.
Right.
Yeah, so observing our child's behavior and the message they want to bring us, we shouldn't be really teaching our kids, oh, do this, do that, don't do this. Mm-hmm. That means if something is off, that means that something is wrong with our behavior. But something is wrong that we're doing wrong. And also one of the speakers have mentioned that if the kids are getting sick, that means we should be healing ourselves, first of all. That means because they are absorbing our energy and it's affecting them. They are like spiritual body.
It's fascinating.
Yeah.
Maria, that is fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's so true. If a parent sees that somehow the child is scared of them, or somehow that the child is conflicting with them, it's very, very important, I think, for the parent to mold themselves to be how the child needs for them to be. And we call that a goodness of fit. And two researchers named Thomas and Chess, they did a whole lot of research on that, about how it's not about, the children caving into our needs and to what we need, as much as us looking to see what our children need and sort of molding, shaping ourselves to be who they need for us to be. And when we hit a point where we're feeling like it's very, very hard for us to mold ourselves into what we need to be for them, I think it's important actually to give yourself a break, take yourself to a private space, do a little yoga, a little meditation, a little green tea. This is what I used to do all the time when I have 3 big kids, they're all in their 20s now, and a 17-year-old. So you can imagine it's like raising 2 separate families. And so it could become a very, very big handful when the big 3 were little. So when things got out of hand, out of control, what I would do is I wouldn't start sending them to the timeout, and I wouldn't give them all right time. I'd say, okay, kids, mommy now needs the timeout. I would take myself out of the room, into another room, sometimes even into the bathroom where there was a lock. I would grab the green tea, well now I have water, but I would grab the green tea and maybe a little chocolate, a little fruit. I would do some stretches, do some affirmations, and drink my green tea until I was ready to come out of the bathroom a new mom for my kids. I would do this constantly, especially on the weekends when everybody was off from everything, and there was a lot of pent-up energy that had to be run around. I'd say, okay, mommy's going in the timeout now, and they would get crazy. I would say, mommy's going in the timeout.
And this is the proper way to deal with the situation, because by having those challenges with our children is like universe is teaching us to manage more things at the same time, for us to progress, to develop better skills with ourselves, because life is only getting more complicated in a sense,
Right. Maybe it's because in ancient and medieval times it's all about, child, obey the parents. And you know what? I do believe in the 5th commandment. I do believe in honor thy father and thy mother. But at the same time, if there's no honoring the child, how in this world is a child supposed to fully honor their father and mother? It has to be a give and a take, sweetie, right? Am I right?
100%, yes.
Yeah.
And this is something that we were talking about in the previous show, that there has to be an even exchange.
That's right. That's right. That's right. A kind of a mutual respect. I have raised my children in the whole idea of mutual respect, of course, as the parent. And it's not so much that I need the honor, it's just that it's in the 10 Commandments. Honor thy father and thy mother. So I've made it easy for my children to honor me and respect me, because they see quite clearly how much love and respect and honor I give them.
Absolutely.
I've made it easy on all of us, and why not? The child so looks up to the parent, and like you were saying on the last show, unconditionally, the child looks up to the parents. When the parent cannot give to the child is giving to the parent. It's just like that's a very, very uneven exchange of energy.
And I truly believe in the theory that in a modern society where we have so many broken homes and broken families, and a lot of times people, let's be honest, in certain communities, it could happen everywhere and anywhere, that there are a lot of cases when children are born unplanned or under the influence of certain substances.
Sure.
And some kids are unwanted, let's say, or the child could be a result of, God forbid, a rape or something like that, so that is, what can we consider that as? Right, so first of all, this is not a blissful energy for the child to be conceived.
For sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So
sad.
I truly believe in the theory, getting back to what I started saying, that before a father and mother conceive a child, it's fair for the child that parents take a certain mental evaluation, that they're first of all ready to become parents, that they are mentally healthy, right? And that they have a full understanding the level of responsibility of what it takes to bring the life to this planet and give everything that is necessary. Even, well, it doesn't mean that everybody have to be absolutely super wealthy and rich and have everything from the child, but at least the will and the heart and enough love to be able to give the best for the child of what you can.
That's right. That's right. Love is more important than money or anything else in this entire world. It's also one of the things that you can't buy. You cannot buy somebody's love, no matter how many toys you buy them, no matter how many gifts you give them. It's really all about the love and how much respect. I think it starts with respect. And thank God I have 4 grandsons now, and I give each and every one of them so much respect. I say, okay, yeah, you may be 2 weeks old, and yeah, I may be whatever, much older than that. But who's to say that I shouldn't respect you too? And I don't even mind saying that, was right after the Holocaust, and some big rabbis were saying, you must give a lot of respect to your children, because you never know if any one of them is a reincarnation of your parents or your grandparents. So give everybody respect. Don't say, oh, this is a little defenseless person, I don't have to give any respect. You must give respect. And if it's hard to respect them for being your quote-unquote parent or grandparent, just respect them for being another living being. There's a concept in every religion, basically, don't make other living things suffer. Look, your children are also living beings. Don't make them suffer. It's like you would not go deliberately, the humane among us would not go deliberately out shooting cats, shooting dogs, shooting everything that we see. Don't go mentally and emotionally shooting your child. When you scream endlessly, when you criticize their self-concept, when you criticize their very being, you're shooting them. They're being shot down.
Absolutely. I really like to bring up the example of this one painting of an artist, a modern artist. I don't recall the name, but the picture shows us that when we are raising our voices at the child, for them it's like we're actually physically eating them.
Yes, exactly.
This is how it feels for them, that they don't feel safe. And this is the worst thing, is that they do not feel safe around their own parents.
Yeah. That hurts, especially considering how much time they spend around their own parents.
Because that going forward in life, this is how we make our relationship choices, right? So most of the times it happens subconsciously, because it's like a programming in our brain, right? That we see the example in our family, and until we're actually able to heal the wounds, if we ever have them, then we are making poor choices in our relationships.
Yeah.
Looking at our parents. And it happens subconsciously, like let's say, if a girl, she had a father who was abusive, or a father, like let's say, or she didn't have a father, right? That she's gonna be looking for a man subconsciously who wouldn't be able to give her enough security, right?
That's what she's used to.
Most of the times, this was the scientific research, psychological research among women, right? Who made poor choices in relationships, right? Until a woman actually, because a woman feels like, well, I might not be worth or good enough to have a man who would provide for me, who would take care of me, right? Who would provide me with the shelter and security, with money, and just the feeling of being confident, absolutely confident.
Right.
Because this is what she was experiencing in her early childhood, or in her teens, and like later in life.
It's so true. It's like what we know. We like to continue what we know, unless we gain this true awareness of how life could be. Like getting out of our own, what we call our own little egoic mind box. Once we realize how life could be, there's no going back. We can't go back to our little box and say, oh yeah, I deserve to have a husband who will hurt me, beat me, emotionally in every which way, abuse me, and like not be a provider at all. That's what a person grows up thinking. But then they have to break free of that. And the deal is, it's not easy to break free of that. A person really, really has to want it. With all, not their mind, because the mind is never going to agree. With all their heart and all their soul, they have to want things to be better for themselves.
Plus, it is also very, very important what is the relationship between the parents, not only towards the child, but towards themselves as well. Like, let's say the parents can do everything, like to worship the child, to give child the best, but if in the presence of the child, the parents, or like, let's say, if the parent figures, whether it's grandparents or like even the siblings, they disrespect each other, they raise voices, they use certain phrases, like offensive phrases, this is what a child absorbs. It's like
Right.
the same thing as that we tell a child, oh, smoking is bad, and we go outside and we smoke a cigarette, right? Or drinking is bad.
Mixed messages.
And exactly, double standards.
Right.
So the child will take the message that you are doing. The child copying the parental behavior.
Oh, yeah. Naturally, the children start to observe and imitate the behaviors that they see in the parents. And they spend the first couple years of life, there's been a lot of research done, they spend the first 2 years of life literally just absorbing it all. Seeing how people are treating each other. Well, yeah, of course, they see how they're being treated and they take that right in. But they also witness how the parents treat each other, how the sibs treat each other, how the parents treat the sibs. But also, these babies, they pick up on the general energy of the house. Is it a positive energy? Is it a negative energy? And you were saying before, and I find this so fascinating, that kids get sick because of the energy of the parents. You know, that's just fascinating, and it never ever even occurred to me.
Yes, and this is a very, very sad event when it happens, because then parents are wondering what's wrong, why the child is constantly getting sick. And this is also, thank you for bringing it back up, because it really reminded me of the moment when, if I can speak from the personal experience.
100%.
Would it be oversharing?
You decide.
Yeah. Okay. Well, for now, I guess I'll just leave it neutral. That
Okay.
There's a true living example in my life of some parents saying that yes, we couldn't figure out what was wrong with the child, and like let's say he was sick for 5 days, and we rushed him into a hospital. He would get sick like a few times a month, and we couldn't figure out what was wrong. Meanwhile, observing from the side, I could definitely say that it was the constant fights between the parents and constant insults and manipulation and put downs, and like even the physical abuse between the parents, where the child was suffering so much that it got deeply engraved into a child's soul, where now this person is experiencing very, very, very deep and bad depression on how the childhood turned out.
Wow. It's fascinating. There's this whole great big debate about whether or not depression is something that's passed down from parent to child, or whether depression is something that happens to a person because they've had a very, very sad, kind of anxious kind of childhood. I'm still on the fence with that one. I still have to say it's a bit of both, because there's some research done that states that pretends that there's some research that states that there is some type of physical component, a genetic DNA component to depression. But at the same time, when you see a parent treating a child a certain way, you're kind of sort of forced to go and say, how about how the parent treats the child? How about the vibe of the household, or how the parents treat each other? Or how about what the child has to observe the parents doing? I would have to say that something like depression, anxiety, cannot be stated that it's either genetic or that it's something that happened because of how you're raised. I would have to say it's a combination, the combo.
100%.
Yeah.
And there's also a question that people like to debate on, What is more important, genetic or nurturing?
That's so fascinating. I would have to say nurturing because at the end of the day, we are all born with this unique nature, and you've got to nurture that nature. If you have a certain nature and you're so carefree and so easygoing, and then the parents go and trample on that, what good was that nature?
Exactly.
Honestly. So I think it's all about how you're nurtured.
Nurture.
Even if you have this very anxious nature, and some children are indeed born with a very, very anxious nature. It doesn't matter how much the parents love them, love each other, love everybody, love the world, love their careers, and rich, and everything else amazing. We're all born with these unique natures. If a person's born with this anxiety, and then they have these amazing parents, they're going to fare far better than a child who's born anxious and then has to be in this situation where the parents make their anxiety even worse.
And going deeper, that a child feels everything while in a mother's womb.
For sure.
All
yes.
of the emotions.
This is true.
Everything.
This is so true.
Starting from the point when the child was conceived, everything that the mother experiences. Well, starting with a very simple example with the food the mother eats, right?
Sure.
And
sure.
then the emotions that she feels.
Right.
Yes, because it's a part of us. The child is right inside of us. We cannot ignore that important fact.
It's so true. It's so
Mm-hmm.
true. Yeah. That's why when I was pregnant, it was very, very hard for me to control the food that I ate because I felt that like I could eat as much salad as possible, but nothing cut it quite like a slice of pizza or quite like a nice meat sandwich. But as far as the emotions were concerned, I am an overly emotional person, though I've learned to work on that tremendously. But I found that when I was getting over emotional, I would literally just pull myself aside, either if I was driving, pull myself to the side of the road, pull myself to the side of whatever was happening and say, okay, if you can't do this for you at this point in your life, and I couldn't at some certain points in my life, I said, do this at least for the child. Do this, relax for the child's sake. Relax for the sake of this baby. This, poor defenseless baby that's growing inside of you. Just relax. And know that God has it all. God is taking care of everything. You're feeling over emotional, let it all out. I've never been one of these who says, okay, you feel like crying, so don't. I say you feel like crying and take yourself aside and cry it out.
Absolutely.
And it's not like life is going to fall apart because you cried it out.
Yeah.
Life is going to be better because you let go of your emotions in a very, very healthy kind of a way.
Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. It's important to be able to release certain emotions for us, to feel emotional, because if we do not have emotions, then we're not pretty much alive. You know what I mean?
That's right.
You cannot be absolutely cold and constantly just focused, then I feel like people who are not able to have emotions, they are not able to feel happy. And there are people like that. This is what I've seen, I've witnessed myself. And it's a very, very sad picture. It's a very sad situation. But also I wanted to talk about this standard in society that a certain way we raise our girls, and there's a way that we're trying to raise our boys. Well, I'm not going to say way. The society sees boys as being raised as, where there's a constant, well, it used to be, and I'm glad to see that in modern times, people talk about it more and more and more, and I would like to mention it myself as well, that it's okay to allow our boys to feel emotions too.
Sure.
To cry
100%.
sometimes. Because if you cold and if you lock those emotions in, then going forward in your adulthood, a lot of times men struggle with showing those emotions, and
Sure.
it's only making them I would not be afraid to say this word, miserable.
Miserable and more bully-like and
Yeah.
bullying the people around them because they're so miserable themselves. They have to take it out on somebody, so they take it out on everybody. And the people who they can't take it out on, such as like let's say their boss, they'll go home and take it out on the wife.
100%.
Yeah.
And that's terrible. That's awful. And this is another reason why so many children have suffered, because I'm also speaking from experience again, just getting to know families that where mother and father both worked, and to begin with, they didn't really have a strong compatibility for whatever reasons, or like let's say the family wasn't created because of a true love, but there were, different intentions. Like
Right.
let's say,
Right, sure.
we to name at least, okay, somebody needed a shelter, somebody wanted to be more successful, somebody wanted to have money that
Right.
the other person had, so
Right.
the union wasn't created on a foundation of love
Right.
and true family values, I would say.
Right. Right.
So that there's a tension in the family where one person is like, let's say, giving more, the other one giving
It's
less or
taking
not giving at all, right?
Yeah.
So that when it, like, let's say, or if both parents have to work and they work at different times and there's not enough time for themselves, and then when they come home stressful from work, there's a child to take care of, and it's like it's a double stress and it just never ends in cycle when it never ends.
Sure.
So there's lack of attention, lack of love, lack of energy for both,
Right.
for the child and for the parent,
Right.
right? And especially like let's say if the family lives in a megapolis like New York, and it's very tough to keep up with the bills.
Sure. Sure.
So that's another very important factor that affects our future generation, and I think
So
we
true.
should really raise awareness about that. And
That's right. Yeah. The vicious
Yeah.
cycle stops here. Whatever a person has been through, if they're not happy, you can change it. You can change anything. But it's all about becoming aware that I want to do some change. I don't want to keep the cycle going. I don't want to keep acting out what I know. If I'm not happy, it's my responsibility. It's everybody's responsibility to change something, to do something differently. Don't think differently. We've been through that on other shows. Don't think differently. Do it differently.
absolutely.
That's right. 100%. Yeah. Wow. So this has been an absolutely incredible, amazing show. This has been like, wow, talking about childhood trauma without actually giving blame to anybody, because let's keep in mind that for every parent who's ever hurt a child unintentionally, and parents don't create children to say, hey, I'm going to just torture this one. Parents basically, they give birth, and what do they know? They only know what they've witnessed. They only know what they've seen. They only know the situation in their life. It's very, very hard for them to get out of what they've been through, to get out of their own mindset. So let's keep in mind, parents are literally doing the absolute very best that they can at that point in time. Like there's this now old saying that says, parents are just using the tools that they have. And it's a shame that they don't necessarily have the proper tools, but they're utilizing the tools that they have. They're really, honestly doing their very best. So I believe that true unconditional love is not just loving the children unconditionally, but relating that kind of unconditional love back to the parents and being able to say, hey, I know that you did the very best job that you possibly could with what you had at the time.
Yeah, and I truly believe that also what the really important is the intention. Intention of creating a family, intention that creating a baby, intention of certain ways of treatment a child, because the intention is the foundation of what we get in the end, and as the result.
So true. It's so true. How many parents out there are so well intended? They want to raise a family on love. They want to raise a family on responsibility. They want to raise a family on amazing, incredible, and sometimes traditional values. And then their children grow up and they see that their kids are not, in fact, as happy as they would have liked for them to be, not as loving as they would have liked for them to be, maybe not had the values that they would have liked for them to have. Say, where did we go wrong? It's not about where they went wrong as much as we literally did our best that we could at the time. Literally, we tried our hardest. We did our darndest. But energy was very, very limited because we were very, very unhappy ourselves. And so we gave the conditional love that we felt inside for ourselves and for our own parents. This is what we're able to give. And it's not all about saying, my parents did not give me what I needed. Why did they give me what I needed? It's about saying we all are doing our very best with what we have right now.
Mm-hmm.
It's right now. That's important. It's right now.
Of course, and I also wanted to mention that nobody is perfect.
Sure,
And
sure.
The idea of being a perfect parent is almost unreachable, because if things were always perfect, we wouldn't be given challenges.
That's right. Correct. That's all right.
The things would just go smooth and like happy.
Easily, yeah. Right.
Yeah.
So true. That's not what life is all about. Life's not all about everything going smoothly. I was actually just having this discussion with Esther this morning about how God sends children to different families so that this way the family can learn something from the child.
Absolutely.
And families do learn so much from their kids. Every kid's different, and every kid brings their own challenges. Every kid brings their own talents and their skills and their blessings to the family, but every child brings their own challenges, unique challenges to the family.
Mm-hmm.
If a parent can deal with these challenges and really be able to work with the child and say, okay, honey, I'm here for you. I'm here to be what you need for me to be, then truly the parent changes and for the best.
Mm-hmm.
If the parent sees that this child has certain challenges and is not willing or able to work with this child, then the parent's not going to go from the child. But at the same time, the parent must be treated with the utmost of love and kindness and care and empathy for their own plight, that they were not able to give to the child what the child came to be able to show the parent, that the parent was not there to see that emotionally and mentally. Even if the parent was there physically, if emotionally and mentally a parent can say, oh yes, I have this child to teach me this and this. This is what the child's given, this is what the child's trying to teach you. If you can't learn from that, then you deserve all the empathy in the world.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Because this was a gift that God sent to you.
Yes, and I'm also really, really happy to see families that, despite the modern society and in a lot of cases entertainment industry, that is being engraved in our youth, the younger generations, that everything but true traditional family values.
That's right.
And it's really disturbing for me to think what's going to happen in years and tens of years ahead. It would be an amazing thing if more families would actually made a step back and open their eyes and be more aware, like see the details, the mixed messages coming from the mass media that are actually trying, what their goal is to create more controllable society, right?
Right.
And what is the control? It's easier to control people and families who have fear, who have, all the negative
100%,
emotions.
100%, yeah.
Instead
People
of
feed
those-
off of fear.
Yes,
Yeah.
instead of those who are actually strong as a unity, who know where they're going, who have a family plan, the family history, the family gatherings where they discuss, where they're being taught about things, about the world and the life, what is wrong and what is right, what has happened. The history is very important because, as we know, history is doomed to repeat itself, right?
Of course.
So
That's right.
that's why I'm searching for the times, like not searching, but like wait, I think maybe the time is now, and that's why we're here with you talking
That's
about
right.
it, right?
That's right.
That everything starts with the family. Everything starts with the family, and this is like the root and the foundation of a strong society,
That's right.
right? And
That's
we
right.
have to. Yeah, I guess I don't really like using word the fight against the modern destruction, you know what I mean, of society.
But taking a stand
and the
against
family,
modern
yes,
destruction, taking
exactly.
a stand and saying, hey, we don't live with fear here. This house is not a place of fear. This house is a place of happiness, of love and light, of enlightenment, of awareness. But fear, we chuckle fear at the door. We don't even let fear into our hearts. We are fearless people. We're fearless soul warriors, doing the best that we can. And basically, when we see society saying, "Oh, you gotta be scared of this, and we gotta control how you do this, and we gotta watch everything that you're doing on your phone," say, "Nah, not for me. I am brave, and I go beyond." Being a full grown-up is all about busting out of the limitations that you think you had as a child, and really, truly being yourself. That's what it means to be a grown-up, and to fully love yourself and to fully love others. This is Life as I See It with your hostess, Dina Nierenberg, and my friend, Maria Lakinova. Thank you so much for being on the show again. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Love you all.
Have an amazing time.
Thank you. Thank you.